Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and today we're going to have to combat some gaslighting, alright? Now ladies and gentlemen, is gaming dying based on this title? Well, if you look at the industry, not really, alright? A lot of people are playing video games, they make a lot of money, but if it's anything with the big AAA boys, EA, Ubisoft, you know it, yeah, sometimes they like to spread some straight up lies into the world, and I'm here to dispel some of those lies and kind of talk about some of the big failures that have happened and sort of kicked up. Today's been kind of a wild day about it, so let's talk, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to throw out a term at you, quadruple A gaming. Have you ever heard about what a quadruple A is? You probably heard of a triple A game, but this is the first time I've heard of a quadruple A, and apparently Ubisoft has titled their new game, Skull and Bones, as a quadruple A experience. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I saw the footage for this, I'm like, oh, sweet, it's the pirate game mechanic from Assassin's Creed 4. Oh, I guess they're making it a full game. That wasn't until I saw the actual gameplay for this, ladies and gentlemen. And thankfully, with open betas, you too can experience mediocrity downloaded directly to your SSD. Watch this shit. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even joking with you. This is an actual fucking downgrade. Now, to give you an idea, this is basically a pirate game where instead of boarding onto the ship, like jumping onto the other ship with two swords in your hand, slicing off heads and taking loot. Yeah, this is a game where you hold Y, hold triangle, you do a little cutscene, and the game drops you your loot. Yeah, all of a sudden, quadruple A gaming just means reskin World of Warships. Now, to give you an idea and some context about why this is so actually embarrassing for Ubisoft, is the same company literally made Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and the boarding mechanic in that game had you weakening a ship, same way, alright, with more realistic ship combat, if you can call it that. Throwing some anchors and ropes onto the other ship, reining that in, jumping to the other side, and getting into sword battles. Some real pirate gangster shit, okay? Yeah, all of a sudden, that's been taken away in a quadruple A live service, online only dog water experience. Now, how is it that how can you monumentally downgrade yourself, by 50 times, alright, within the span of what, a decade? Remember, Assassin's Creed 4 is a game that released on the goddamn PlayStation 3, okay? At this point, there are smart butt plugs you can buy that have more processing power, from my understanding, than the PlayStation 3 cell processor, okay? And that stuff was impressive at the time. Even looking at this menu, all I see is just random resources that obviously are going to be put towards a little bit of a light, city builder, maybe some crafting. Okay, maybe some ship upgrades. Maybe you're doing your dailies, if you will, too. Yeah, and the funniest thing is, Ubisoft is not all bad. They made some pretty interesting games, they made a 2D Prince of Persia game that apparently everybody has been loving. Did you hear about it? Probably not, because they don't really advertise those games as much as they advertise this, type of stuff. Now, to understand, there's really good pirate games out there like Sea of Thieves, like Assassin's Creed 4 at this point. But this game, yeah, they're probably expecting this to be doing billion-dollar numbers, okay? And then they're going to complain when it fails. And then they're going to say, see, the gaming industry isn't as strong as it used to be because our brand of slop isn't selling like we thought it would. Or the Hopium said we could. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, it goes beyond anything. Apparently, this game doesn't even have, islands that you can explore, hidden treasure maps, or anything of that nation. This is probably one of the blandest games out there. If you want to experience some more, titillating, ship sailing, fire up Wind Waker on the GameCube, dog. That's pretty much how it comes down to. But see, I'm not here to just complain about one marketing thing right here. I'm here to talk about another company, and actually the gaming journalism side. Now, this is Kotaku. Sometimes I'll say Kotaku can write something decent. Sometimes they write some absolute brain damage. Do you know that Immortals of Avium proves it's a grim time for single-player games? It's so funny how the most anticipated game is Grand Theft Auto 6, which is, by the way, a single-player experience, okay? We all understand this, right? And you guys might go, but Booyah, it has an online mode. I know, it comes out a month later, but you can't deny a lot of people are excited to be driving around Vice goddamn City in a single-player fashion. Now, to give more context to this entire situation, they do talk about a AAA shooter game, okay? And in this case, if you haven't heard about this game, because guess what? EA didn't really advertise it. You know, the only reason I know about it is from a YouTube channel known as Digital Foundry. For all the different reasons, I didn't care about the game, I just cared about some tech running underneath it. But for anybody that doesn't know, this is a magic-based single-player shooter, okay? Now, what does that mean? That means they're appealing to the Call of Duty crowd. You know, the same gamers who are like, where are we dropping in Warzone? It's the only game that they play, okay? Now, let me give you the crossover between Call of Duty nut jobs and single-player shooter nut jobs. Absolutely fucking zero, okay? Maybe if you factor in maybe if you factor in, like, you know, just some margins, maybe like 1 or 2%. But clearly billing your game as Call of Duty with magic probably isn't the smartest option too. Now, obviously it wasn't marketed enough, but you know the best part is they released it next to an indie game known as Baldur's Gate 3, which, by the way, has been getting so many awards and is primarily a single-player game that for the gaming media to write this entire piece when that as an example exists is baffling to me, okay? God damn! Now, of course, this game was absolutely boring. Did it have anything good to it? No. Currently, it says 60% off, so if you do want to play it on Steam, you can. There's even a demo, so you have no reason not to disappoint yourself, okay? But yeah, because one game does bad, ooh, the single player market is bad. Might need more live service slop our way. Maybe we need more quadruple A skull and bones pirating. Maybe we do need something to hold triangle and start looting stuff. Yeah, when I read shit like this without any form of proper context, it does absolutely drive me insane. Because it paints an absolute doomer picture for the industry that just isn't the case. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, this game sold so little that EA decided, you know the best thing? Maybe like fire 45% of the team at Ascendant Studios, okay? Why? Because the game just didn't meet its sales quota. Apparently it cost somewhere around $90 to $130 million to make. Obviously it didn't make its money, and that's purely on EA Games, okay? The fact that last year alone, you had Despise, also from EA, by the way, selling numbers. Resident Evil 4 Remake sold some real numbers. You had games like Hogwarts Legacy, which from my understanding, outsold Call of Duty. You also have Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, an expansion so good, it might as well be its own goddamn game. In fact, most of the stuff that I've been playing has pretty much been single-player gaming releases. And that's pretty much what most of the people I've talked to, most of the people in my personal life have pretty much been playing around with. And that's effectively what the industry is held up by. There's a lot of good releases year after year, month after month, that keep us all playing. And because of these releases, yes, they do drop off after a while. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, for the months that they're released, they have some pretty high player counts. And not even discounting Baldur's Gate 3, a game that, again, broke so many records, a game so long that I'm still chewing my way through it. Yeah, obviously single-player gaming is not dead, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of whatever industry plants want to convince you otherwise. Now, the other thing that's sort of been floating around is this little piece right here. Do you know that Sony is not releasing any major existing franchise titles before April 2025? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start it right here, okay? April 2025, that's over a year from now. And that means, based on this actual posting, PlayStation ain't releasing another Uncharted game. They're not releasing a goddamn Horizon game. They're not releasing another goddamn Sly Cooper game, okay? They're not doing anything from their existing pool. Does this mean they're not releasing anything new? Probably not. But ladies and gentlemen, one thing to understand is I don't give PlayStation nearly enough of the crap that I do the other two boys in the industry, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, PlayStation 5 might be one of the most disappointing PlayStation, releases out there. Look, at the end of the day, this is probably one of the only gaming generations I personally know of where if you still have a PlayStation 4, you're good, man. You're fine. Literally, the best game of this year, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth that dropped, is also on PS4, which again poses the question, Why the fuck do I need to buy a PlayStation 5 when every game worth the damn just shows up on the PS4 anyways? Now, obviously, this isn't going to last forever, okay? The PlayStation 4 is older than hell at this point, and obviously trying to run these games on it isn't exactly the best thing ever. If you thought your PlayStation sounded like a jet engine 5 years ago, running a game nowadays, it's not going to work too well. But I can see with the industry releasing these games on multiple systems, they're trying to recoup these insane development costs everywhere that they can go. You know, when a game developer releases a game like Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch, it's not because they're trying to beat some crazy engineering feat, okay? That game still runs like hot ass cheeks. It's just because the game was so expensive to make that they would try to port it to a TI-83 calculator if they could, if that meant upping them up their sales just a tiny wee bit, okay? That's how these companies operate. But when it comes to the PlayStation 5, literally there are 13 games, okay, at least listed, that are exclusive PlayStation 5 games. 4 years into its lifespan, by the way. These games include Astro's Playroom, a game that bundled with the title anyways. 2 VR titles, Horizon and Dark Pictures. Again, you need to buy a VR headset that's about the price of the fucking system to also experience it. Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which won't be out till 2025. Demon Souls, you want to play a remake of a PS3 game? Oh, but it looks good, Muda. Yeah, that's available. Woo! Destruction's All-Stars. There has not been one day that game's community has been alive, okay? That shit was dead on impact. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the only reason I'm excited to even dust the, shit off of my PlayStation 5, and that's because that game exists. A game that I firmly believe, I can give both my nuts off, will probably come out on PC within a year of its release. Then you've got Marvel's Wolverine, okay? You want more Marvel slop? There you go. Quantum Error, a game so shit that it might as well not even exist. That game is just trash. Rise of the Ronin. I'm excited for that game. March is going to be nice. And of course, you've got Silent Hill, Spider-Man 2, and Stellar Blade. All of these games which have released very much, or Stellar Blade still has to release. But you can get what I'm saying here, right? We're this far into a console's lifespan, and so far, we have very little to basically justify purchasing such an expensive gaming console, okay? So it's kind of baffling to me. Obviously, there are other games and exclusive titles, but then again, with a lot of those big games also releasing on PS4 anyways, what is the actual point, right? And the only game that I could even recount actually buying, if I was a console gamer, the only reason that I could justify owning that console is for Final Fantasy Rebirth or Cyberpunk 2077's like Phantom Liberty expansion. Yeah, it's that good. Yeah, the gaming industry is kind of in this weird spot, but is it dying? Absolutely not. But is that whole reason to own these consoles, at least in this generation? Yeah, that's sort of slipping away more and more. I've realized that as I am one of these console gamers, the more and more games that come out without this physical copy release, like Alan Wake 2, which didn't release physically, I'm literally not even in a situation where these consoles are entirely something I honestly care too much about. Yeah, is the gaming industry dead? No, not really. But when it comes to a lot of these shitty quadruple A releases, yeah, it's not exactly looking all that pretty. Honestly, I can imagine that for companies like Ubisoft, for companies like EA, I think there is a weird psyop that's going on where I guess maybe trying to demonize a single player only market might be the one thing that these guys have going for them. But in all honesty, I really do think that when it comes to video gaming, it's not that it's dying, it's just like the reason to own some of these high-end consoles really isn't justified yet. And honestly, when it comes to some of these games like, Skull and Bones, dog, how do you downgrade yourself from your own release a decade later? Ladies and gentlemen, if there's some part of the industry that needs to absolutely fail, crash, and burn, it's that AAA premium level of gaming, because in a grand majority of cases, it's just not there. There are some exceptions. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks like an exception. Baldur's Gate 3 looks like an exception. Games like Immortals of Avium, dog, you knew that was dead on impact. That's why you didn't even bother advertising it. Part of me thinks that game was set up for a loss just for tax reasons. But that's me getting conspiratorial with no actual evidence. And that's not something I'm willing to do on this channel. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, wanted to talk about this because everything's kind of hitting me with a barrage. Tomorrow we talk about Russia and nuclear weapons. I am out.